Lolo Cat and the tiny people discovered a giant corn in the field. They decided to make corn and pork rib soup with it. Everyone was focused on their own tasks, working busily and in perfect harmony. The tiny people loaded the harvested corn onto the carts, and Lolo Cat helped too. Led by Lolo Cat, they brought the corn back to the town together. Lolo Cat went to a nearby field to pick carrots. He climbed up a ladder and harvested the carrots. The tiny people slowly carried the carrots back to the town. Lolo Cat bought pork ribs to make corn soup. Back home, they cooked it with care. Everyone enjoyed the warm soup together, smiling and laughing. Lolo Cat was planning to catch a giant lobster with the tiny people. They sat together and carefully made a detailed capture plan. The tiny people quietly approached the lobster with ropes. In the end, they successfully tied up the giant lobster. Lolo Cat took charge and directed the tiny people to surround and capture the giant lobster. They worked closely together and, after some struggles, finally caught the giant lobster. In the end, Lolo Cat personally tied it up tightly. Lolo Cat led everyone to bring the giant lobster back to the town. The tiny people worked together in perfect harmony, each doing their part and completing their tasks with great teamwork. Lolo Cat and the tiny people brought the giant lobster to be cooked. In the end, everyone sat together and happily shared the wonderful meal. Lolo Cat set out on a sea adventure to catch Chinese mitten crabs. Together with the tiny people, he sailed away on a boat. They set traps along the beach and patiently waited. In the end, they successfully caught a giant Chinese mitten crab. The tiny people were joyfully celebrating their successful crab catch. Under Lolo Cat's guidance, they carefully tied up the giant Chinese mitten crab. They loaded the crab onto the boat and began their journey back to the town. The tiny people washed the giant crab and brought it to the kitchen. A delicious aroma filled the air. Lolo Cat and the tiny people gathered to enjoy the crab feast together. Lolo Cat and the tiny people went to the river to catch a giant duck. They spotted the duck, made a plan, and worked together. After some teamwork and effort, they finally caught the giant duck. Lolo Cat hit the duck with sticks, cheered with joy, celebrating their big success together. Lolo Cat and the tiny people gathered giant duck eggs and tied up the duck to bring it back to town. Working together, they began their journey home. Lolo Cat spread sauce on the giant duck and roasted it over a fire. When it turned golden and crispy, he sliced it up. Then he and the tiny people sat down and happily enjoyed delicious Peking duck. Thanks for watching.